Hi, I just want to check in with you on the discussion board that we've been working on in our psychology class this week and set up how things are going to look in class this week. As you remember, we've been focusing on Piaget and Vygotsky a bit in the discussion board, although the readings went beyond that. The reason I focused on that, Piaget especially, I think it's impossible to truly understand how children's learning develops over time if you don't have an understanding of Piaget. And I think that when we're thinking about developmental stages and how people learn, and as teachers, our goal is not just to understand what that stage is and to teach to it, but also to teach beyond it. Sometimes we call that +1 learning. So, and that's where Vygotsky is critically important, understanding how we can approach a developmental stage as a teacher. I thought it was really interesting that many of you chose to focus on the father in the video that I set out as one of the highlights in the discussion board, and really focusing not just on the father's approach, but the father's affect as well. That became a popular theme in some of your comments, and that's important. It's not just the father's understanding of the child's developmental stage. It was clear the mother had a stronger understanding of what the child might be expected to be able to do at that age than the father did. And so the father came in like many people do who haven't studied how to become a teacher or haven't studied the psychology of learning, and they lay their own developmental frame or lens in the way that they see the child. And so the father's obviously doing that, and there's a little bit of frustration there, but the affect is clearly different. And some of you, I think, rightly pointed out that the ordering of questions and the affect itself could have a question in how the learner responds. That doesn't necessarily mean that the learner truly gets it. So if you put that same question in a different context, that they would be able to answer the question as effectively as they did in that moment. We'll revisit that a little bit this week in class. I want to talk about affect as information. In other words, how the learner, in this case the child, or teachers, when working with administrators, how they perceive affect in their classmates and their peers and the person that's in charge or teaching them, and how they take in that affect as information along with the problem that they've been charged with trying to solve, and how they use that, or how sometimes it can serve as a barrier to using other tools that they have. So I was really pleased to see that came out in the discussion board. Moving forward, we're going to be doing a couple of things. One, focusing on the readings for this week, and I'll have some examples for you as we move on to some new studies and different learning theorists. But also I want to revisit your own theory of learning. Remember, we had some interviews at the beginning of the semester, and you had a discussion board post that reflected on your peers' theory of learning. Well, we're going to revisit that a little bit in class. I'm going to ask you to refine that a bit, because that's going to be a major project in this class, developing your own theory of learning, and then be able to apply that in a context. So your own theory of learning that you're creating is going to have to be fairly context specific, and that'll be largely the work that we're doing in class, is trying to make it context specific. And you'll get better at that as you learn more about different theories of psychology and different studies. But I think that with a little bit of Piaget and Vygotsky under your belt, you're in a better position now to do that work. So, as always, there's actually a little bit of work I could see that could be done at the discussion board. We had some late posting. A couple of housekeeping items. When you are posting on a discussion thread, instead of starting a new thread, it's always best if you hit reply to the existing thread, so it's all one continuous thread. That's helpful for people who use Gmail, so they can quickly refresh when they get an email notification. It's also for those who are just visiting the discussion board. It's much easier for your peers if you do it that way. The other thing is just be clear about the timing. When we're online, I do usually set some timelines when I want you to post by, so try to do that. It's really important to get those initial posts in by the deadline, so that when we're going back and reflecting back on each other's comments, that they're all there for us to see at the same time. If you have any questions or any concerns or comments even, post them on the discussion board instead of sending me a direct email, so that everybody can see your question and my response. People often have the same questions. Have a great week, and I'm looking forward to seeing you all on Thursday.